Hello friends. Imagine a person whose soul dances between diplomacy and daydreams. Someone who can soothe tensions in a room with a smile, yet wrestles with their own quiet storm of indecision. Now, imagine adding to that a deeply artistic, quietly ambitious energy that resists chaos and craves harmony. That's what you get when a Libra is born in the year of the goat, also known as the sheep or ram. This isn't just a personality, it's a cosmic cocktail of grace, vulnerability, creativity, and quiet strength. Let's pull back the curtain on this fascinating archetype and explore the deep layers behind this celestial combination. Libra Goat. Love, romantic dreamers and gentle hearts. Libra Goat individuals carry within them a profoundly romantic spirit, shaped by both cosmic elegance and emotional depth. Love, to them, is not simply a chapter of life, it's the full narrative, the heartbeat of their existence. They long for partnerships that feel like destiny, ones wrapped in quiet moments of shared beauty and emotional resonance. When a Libra Goat falls in love, it's a surrender of the soul. They don't enter into relationships lightly, they wait for something meaningful, something poetic. Their hearts are patient but deeply hopeful. This combination of Libra's airy idealism and the goat's emotional richness creates a person who is romantic not just in action, but in worldview. They see love as sacred, something to be protected, nurtured, and adorned. For them, romance isn't a passing thrill, it's a form of emotional art, a daily practice of softness and sincerity. Libras are ruled by Venus, the planet of love and beauty, which means they are naturally drawn to grace, symmetry, and connection. Their flirtation is elegant, never vulgar. They seduce with wit, eye contact, and intellectual charm, creating a safe space for romance to blossom. The goat, associated with emotional sensitivity in the Chinese zodiac, adds layers of vulnerability and dreamy gentleness to that Libran charisma. Goats are easily hurt but rarely express their disappointment directly. Instead, they carry their pain inward, decorating it with introspective thoughts and quiet longing. Together, these two archetypes create a lover who is beautifully complex, both emotionally available and delicately reserved. Libra goats crave a partner who understands the language of nuance, someone who hears the silence between the words, someone who sees not just their beauty, but the insecurities hidden behind it. In relationships, Libra goats are deeply committed to peace. They're natural diplomats, constantly trying to maintain emotional equilibrium. They'll avoid fights, suppress irritation, and go the extra mile just to keep the harmony intact. However, this tendency can be a double-edged sword. Their reluctance to engage in confrontation may lead to emotional withdrawal if problems go unspoken. They won't slam doors or raise their voices, instead, they'll quietly start disappearing from the relationship. Emotionally, they pull back, bit by bit, leaving their partners wondering when the distance crept in. They need an emotionally intelligent companion who encourages openness without pressure, one who can draw them back out without making them feel exposed or criticized. Respect and safety are the pillars of their emotional commitment. Without those, they shut down entirely. The way Libra goats express love is deeply tied to their appreciation of beauty and tactile affection. Their love language often includes small, meaningful gestures, an intricately handwritten note, a thoughtfully selected piece of music, or a gift chosen not for value but for symbolism. They are deeply moved by ambiance, soft lighting, harmonious decor, shared meals arranged with care. Their affection is often subtle but deeply intentional. A lingering hand on the back, a compliment slipped into casual conversation, a quiet glance across a room filled with noise. These are the ways they communicate devotion. Yet, their emotional needs can sometimes go unmet if their partner lacks the same sensitivity to emotional detail. They're not the kind to demand love loudly. They need someone who can sense the emotional undertow without being told. But the greatest challenge for Libra goats in love lies in their idealism. They romanticize relationships in a way that sets almost impossible expectations. Their minds script love stories with cinematic arcs and emotionally flawless dialogues. While this makes them tender and attentive partners, it also opens the door to disappointment. When reality arrives, with its messiness, its imperfect timing, its uncomfortable truths, they can feel as though the story has broken. Disillusionment hits them harder than most. They may retreat into sadness, convinced they've failed or been failed by love. To find lasting happiness, Libra goats must learn that love is not always graceful, not always balanced, that sometimes it is ragged, raw, and still real. Once they understand that imperfections don't break the spell, but deepen it, they can build relationships that are not just beautiful, but durable. Trust is everything for them. Until they feel emotionally and spiritually safe, they will keep parts of themselves hidden. They need time to test emotional waters, time to watch how someone handles their silences, their small vulnerabilities. But once that trust is established, their commitment is unwavering. They are loyal, present, and emotionally invested. They don't wander. They don't give up. They stay, they nurture, and they grow alongside their partners. A relationship with a Libra goat is like planting a garden, at first delicate and uncertain, but with care, it blooms into something breathtaking. In essence, Libra goats are lovers of the heart in the truest sense. They don't just fall in love, they live it, breathe it, sculpt it into every corner of their lives. And while their sensitivity can sometimes be their undoing, it is also their greatest gift. Because when they love you, you'll feel it, not in grand declarations, but in the quiet, unwavering devotion that turns everyday life into something almost magical. Marriage, a soft commitment with strong roots. Marriage for a Libra goat is not just a social contract, it's a soul-bound partnership, a daily expression of emotional intimacy, shared vision, and gentle collaboration. They approach it with quiet seriousness, not for tradition's sake, but because they believe in the sacredness of growing a life with someone. Every detail of their marriage is intentional, from the way they decorate their shared space to how they speak during disagreements. Their vision of a successful union isn't based on rigid roles or grand declarations, but on subtle understanding, emotional nourishment, and an atmosphere of peace. They don't need flashy romantic gestures or loud affirmations. What they crave is a calm emotional rhythm, like a home that always feels like a soft landing place. Marriage, to them, should feel like art in motion, fluid, evolving, and deeply harmonious. In the home, the Libra goat often becomes the emotional curator. They are drawn to beauty, symmetry, and the feeling of refuge, so their shared space with a spouse is often filled with warmth and balance. Think sunlit corners, ambient playlists, tactile textures like linen and velvet, and meaningful objects that tell a story. They believe a well-designed environment nurtures a well-balanced relationship. Emotional clutter bothers them just as much as physical mess. Chaos, whether visual or relational, disorients them. That's why they spend so much energy creating serenity. But this isn't superficial. For the Libra goat, an aesthetically peaceful home is a reflection of inner peace. They are the kind of partners who light candles before dinner, pause to ask how your day was, and intuitively know when to give space or lean in. They build marriages like artists build canvases, carefully, with love in every stroke. Although they dislike conflict and naturally avoid tension, Libra goats are not pushovers in their relationships. They believe in mutual respect and shared power. Their idea of a healthy marriage involves deep emotional equality, where both partners contribute their strengths without overpowering the other. They are gentle in tone but clear in their needs. When they feel taken for granted or emotionally sidelined, they won't explode, they will retreat, slowly and subtly. This quiet withdrawal is their form of protest, a way of preserving dignity when they feel emotionally endangered. If unacknowledged, this retreat can become permanent. Libra goats won't stay where they feel unseen. Their softness isn't weakness, it's choice. And if they sense the relationship is draining them rather than filling them, they will leave without fanfare, but with finality. Their ideal partner is someone grounded and emotionally intelligent, someone who can appreciate beauty, nurture connection, and take the lead when necessary. Libra goats often feel overwhelmed by the harsher aspects of adult life, financial management, long-term planning, or making tough decisions. They aren't lazy, they're simply emotionally attuned, and certain practicalities feel heavy or harsh to their sensitive systems. A strong, steady partner who can carry some of that load is their perfect complement. Not because they want to be taken care of, but because they want to stay anchored in their emotional and creative energy. A partner who supports this balance, and who also respects their independence, will find a loyal, tender, and deeply loving spouse in the Libra goat. As parents, Libra goats bring warmth, imagination, and gentle guidance into the family dynamic. They are not authoritarian by nature, and they rarely enforce strict rules. Instead, they believe in shaping character through empathy, encouragement, and example. Emotional intelligence is central to their parenting style. They teach their children how to name and manage feelings, how to show kindness, how to find meaning in everyday life. They encourage creative expression through art, music, storytelling, and deep conversation. Libra Goat parents are tuned into the moods and needs of their children, often sensing emotional shifts before they are spoken aloud. However, they must be careful not to over-identify with their children's emotions, or take on too much of their internal world. Their empathy is a gift, but it can become a burden if not kept in balance. Marriage is never rushed for the Libra Goat. Their trust builds slowly, brick by brick. They must feel emotionally safe, intellectually respected, and spiritually understood before they will consider committing for life. They are not the type to fall for momentary passion or whirlwind romance. If they say yes to a lifelong partnership, it's because they've measured every emotional depth, studied every corner of their partner's soul, and imagined the long view. Their love is steady, but only once it's secure. Until that trust is earned, they may hesitate, question, and pull back. But once the commitment is made, they are all in, heart, mind, and soul. They're not just signing up for a wedding, they're investing in a life built slowly, tenderly, and beautifully over time. To be married to a Libra Goat is to be held in emotional grace. It is to be seen, heard, and gently understood. They are not the loudest lovers or the flashiest spouses, but their presence is grounding, their loyalty unwavering, and their love quietly transformative. In their eyes, marriage is not a destination, it is a journey of mutual becoming. And for those lucky enough to walk that path with them, it is a journey filled with meaning, depth, and beauty. Sex. A slow burn of sensuality. For the Libra Goat, sex is not a physical act, it's a language of emotion, a soft unveiling of spirit, a communion of souls. These individuals are ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and sensuality, and this influence infuses their sexual energy with elegance, warmth, and a powerful emotional depth. Combined with the Goat's innate sensitivity and vulnerability, their approach to sex becomes something rare, patient, intentional, and profoundly intimate. They don't rush toward pleasure, they cultivate it. Every glance, every whispered word, every gentle caress is a part of their ritual of connection. They need to feel safe and seen before they can fully surrender. When that trust is earned, they become lovers who give wholeheartedly, not just with their bodies, but with their entire being, mind, heart, soul, and energy. Libra Goats are sensual artists, tuned into the aesthetics of desire. The environment matters to them more than most. It's not just about where sex happens, but how it unfolds. Lighting, textures, temperature, scent. These are the details that elevate a moment from ordinary to unforgettable. Think candlelight flickering across skin, soft sheets that invite touch, quiet music humming in the background. They respond to the full sensory palette, and they expect their partners to care about the experience, not just the goal. Rushed or careless intimacy feels jarring to them. Their erotic rhythm is slow, exploratory, and full of emotional nuance. They are more interested in the connection between heartbeats than the speed of movements. To truly please them, you must embrace the journey, not just chase the climax. Foreplay isn't just important for Libra Goats, it's sacred. It's where emotional anticipation builds, where trust solidifies, and where their inner world begins to open. Kissing, talking, eye contact, teasing touches, these are the gateways to deeper pleasure. They want to be cherished before they're desired, emotionally connected before physically consumed. They need to feel that their partner is not only present, but tuned in, reading their reactions, listening to their silence, sensing their needs without being told. Emotional safety is the soil where their passion grows. If they feel judged, rushed, or dismissed, their desire evaporates. But if they feel understood and gently encouraged, their sensuality blooms like moonlight on still water, hypnotic, calming, and deeply consuming. Sex with a Libra Goat is a slow burn, not a wildfire, but a glowing ember that can last through the night. They are tender, yes, but also surprisingly adventurous once they feel emotionally anchored. In the right relationship, they are open to exploring fantasy, vulnerability, and deep physical connection, as long as the emotional core remains intact. Their erotic imagination is vivid, but always rooted in trust. They are drawn to partners who are both gentle and confident, who can take the lead without overpowering, who know that the real seduction happens in the moments between words. Aggression, domination, or purely physical approaches will leave them cold. What awakens them is emotional attunement, a partner who touches their heart first, and their body second. Above all, they want to feel chosen, not just desired. They need to know that intimacy is more than an act. It's a mutual gift, a shared experience that leaves both people emotionally richer. When they give themselves to someone, it's never halfway. It's vulnerable, authentic, and real. In return, they need a partner who understands that their heart and body are not separate domains. For the Libra Goat, sex is where love becomes physical, where emotional connection is etched into skin, and where two people become one, not through conquest, but through care. And once that connection is made, it becomes a bond as enduring as it is beautiful. Friendship, a circle of gentle souls. Friendship, for the Libra Goat, is not about numbers, popularity, or social conquest. It's about connection, safety, and shared meaning. They are the friends who show up with intention, who see the small details others miss, who sense your emotional temperature even when you say you're fine. They aren't loud presences in a room, but they are steady ones, quietly offering warmth, softness, and loyalty in a world that often feels too sharp. Deeply empathetic and emotionally intuitive, Libra Goats offer a unique kind of friendship, one that blends heartfelt care with a subtle sense of elegance and soul. They are the people who send handwritten notes, who remember your coffee order, who check in after your tough week, even if they've had one of their own. To be in their inner circle is to be genuinely seen and gently held. In social settings, Libra Goats naturally gravitate toward peace. They do not thrive in chaotic or high-drama environments. While they enjoy meaningful conversations and beautiful shared experiences, they find gossip and emotional volatility deeply unsettling. Conflict repels them. They are not the ones who confront others in public or thrive in emotional messiness. Instead, they gently redirect energy, soothe tension, and seek common ground. Their diplomatic instincts, inherited from their Libra side, make them excellent mediators and emotionally safe companions. Add to this the Goat's intuitive emotional awareness, and you get someone who can sense a friend's discomfort before a word is spoken. They create a social space that feels sacred, free from judgment, full of care, and rooted in shared emotional values. That said, Libra Goats are not endlessly available. Their emotional depth and sensitivity come with a cost. They are easily drained by overstimulation. While they love people, they need solitude just as much. After spending time in intense social settings, they often require a reset, time alone to reflect, to feel, to simply be. When they go quiet or pull back, it's not rejection, it's preservation. This need for space is often misunderstood, especially by more extroverted friends. But those who truly know a Libra Goat understand that silence is not distance, it's healing. Their emotional systems are like delicate ecosystems, beautiful and rich, but easily thrown off balance. Respecting their ebb and flow is key to sustaining a close friendship with them. Their ideal friends are people who are emotionally mature, quietly creative, and respectful of emotional boundaries. Libra Goats flourish in friendships where there is depth, calm, and emotional resonance. They are not drawn to the loudest person in the room but to the one who listens deeply, asks thoughtful questions, and doesn't need to fill silence with noise. They seek out friends who bring beauty into their world, not just aesthetically, but emotionally. People who value kindness over sarcasm, empathy over status, presence over performance. They are especially magnetized to fellow creatives, intuitives, and idealists, those who dream, feel, and reflect the way they do. In those friendships, they come fully alive, feeling safe enough to share their full emotional spectrum, from gentle joy to soulful melancholy. Being friends with a Libra Goat means having someone who always remembers your heart. They won't forget your birthday, your childhood trauma, or the way your voice shifts when you're holding something back. They'll bring you tea when you're sick, text you lyrics that reminded them of you, and sense your sadness through a single emoji. They are the quiet givers, the emotional note-takers, the ones who notice when you're a little off, and won't rest until they know you're okay. But they need the same in return. They don't ask for much, just consistency, softness, and the assurance that your bond is real. When that's given, they are the kind of friends you'll never need to question, because they don't do temporary. They do forever, woven slowly, softly, and deeply into the fabric of your life. Business career. Creative hustlers in gentle disguise. Libra goats are the kind of professionals who often fly under the radar, but not because they lack ambition. Quite the opposite. Their drive is quiet, composed, and deeply personal. They don't broadcast their goals or chase success for applause. Instead, they pursue it as a way to craft a life filled with balance, beauty, and emotional peace. You won't always see them leading the charge in a boardroom, but you'll absolutely find them behind the scenes making things better, elevating ideas, healing broken systems, and turning chaos into calm. Their entrepreneurial spirit may not look flashy, but it's steady, grounded, and deeply intentional. They're not motivated by competition or power. They're driven by the desire to create meaningful impact, express their creativity, and live in alignment with their values. Underestimate them because of their softness, and you'll miss the iron wool wrapped in silk. What truly sets Libra goats apart is their emotional intelligence combined with creative precision. They have a natural ability to read people, interpret subtle dynamics, and sense unspoken tensions in a work environment. That makes them invaluable in team settings where diplomacy and emotional navigation are key. They know when to speak, when to listen, and how to gently influence outcomes without making others feel overpowered. They also possess a powerful aesthetic instinct, an eye for design, detail, and flow, that shines in careers requiring creativity and curation. Whether they're building a visual brand, styling a photo shoot, leading a community initiative, or editing a memoir, they approach every task with grace, care, and quiet excellence. They may not fight for the spotlight, but they'll often be the person holding it up for someone else, and making everything look better in the process. Because Libra goats are emotionally sensitive and naturally peace-loving, they thrive best in work environments that value collaboration over competition. They do not respond well to high conflict, high-pressure atmospheres, and they have no interest in playing office politics. They want clarity, respect, and the freedom to do things their own way. Structure is helpful for them, but it must leave room for creative expression and emotional well-being. Their dream job blends logic and artistry, service and self-expression. That's why you'll often find them thriving in careers like interior design, fashion, publishing, nonprofit leadership, counseling, holistic health, photography, marketing, arts education, or user experience design. Anything that involves shaping environments, helping people, telling stories, or adding beauty to the world is their professional sweet spot. However, their gentle nature can sometimes be mistaken for passivity, and that's where challenges arise. Libra goats avoid conflict, sometimes to their own detriment. In workplaces dominated by aggressive personalities, they may initially submit, defer, or even self-silence in the name of harmony. But here's what people miss: the goat's hidden resilience. They may endure a toxic environment longer than they should, hoping it will improve. But once they reach their limit, they leave, quietly, completely, and with no intention of returning. They don't burn bridges with drama, they simply walk away, reclaim their peace, and often go build something better. Their departure may come as a shock, but it's never impulsive. It's the result of long-held, carefully measured boundaries finally being enforced. And once they step into a healthier space, their brilliance flourishes. When it comes to teamwork, Libra goats shine brightest when surrounded by emotionally intelligent, collaborative, and creatively driven colleagues. They are natural harmonizers and intuitive communicators, making them ideal connectors in any group. But they need psychological safety to thrive. They recoil from micromanagement and do best under leaders who trust their process. They're highly productive, but not in a linear or traditional sense. Their workflow is more like a creative tide, deep, immersive, and sometimes nonlinear. But when the environment supports their rhythm, they are astonishingly effective. They bring not just results, but a sense of calm and cohesion to every project they touch. Their ability to diffuse tension, hold space for others' ideas, and keep the emotional temperature of the room balanced makes them the heart of any team. And when they find a mission that speaks to their heart, a purpose that aligns with their values and allows them to use both their artistic gifts and emotional intelligence, They become unstoppable. It's like watching a storm of gentleness and genius converge. They'll pour everything into their work, not because they have to, but because they want to. Purpose fuels them. When their work aligns with their inner values, like justice, compassion, sustainability, or beauty, they'll labor like artists possessed, giving far more than expected and elevating everything around them. They don't seek applause, but they earn deep respect. And often, they leave a legacy not just of results, but of healing, harmony, and quiet transformation. Libra goats might not announce themselves as hustlers, but their work ethic is relentless when the cause is right. Their success may not always be loud, but it's lasting. They build careers that honor their soul while serving the world. And in a marketplace driven by ego and speed, their quiet integrity is not just refreshing, it's revolutionary. Dark sides. The shadows of the gentle zodiac. Every beautiful personality casts a shadow, and for the Libra goat, that shadow is soft, subtle, and often hidden in plain sight. On the surface, they appear composed, kind, and emotionally attuned. But underneath their graceful exterior lies a complex landscape of inner battles, struggles they rarely speak of, even to those closest to them. Because they so deeply value peace, connection, and aesthetic harmony, they often deny themselves the right to feel, express, or even acknowledge anything messy or confrontational. They internalize pain to avoid hurting others. They smile through discomfort to preserve the emotional flow of a room. This quiet self-erasure can be their downfall. Their flaws don't crash into people. They fold inward, becoming invisible until the damage has already been done. Their darkness is not loud, but it is deeply real. One of the most persistent challenges for Libra goats is indecisiveness. Caught between Libra's tendency to weigh every option and the goat's fear of making the wrong emotional move, they often find themselves paralyzed when choices must be made. They want to do the right thing, for everyone involved. But when too many voices, outcomes, or emotional implications crowd their mental space, they can freeze entirely. This results in missed opportunities, delayed decisions, or relying on others to choose for them. What looks like passivity is really emotional overload, an inability to trust their inner compass after years of second-guessing themselves. This indecision doesn't just apply to major life choices. It can show up in daily life, from picking a career path to deciding what to say in a difficult conversation. The fear of disappointing someone often overrides their own clarity, leaving them caught in an endless cycle of what-ifs. Another deep shadow of the Libra goat is emotional dependency. They long for connection so much that they may tie their self-worth to the approval, attention, or affection of others. When they feel loved, they flourish. But when that external source of affirmation fades or shifts, their sense of self can crumble. They may become clingy, overly apologetic, or emotionally reactive, not out of manipulation, but from a place of fear. Their need to feel emotionally safe can sometimes morph into a need to be constantly reassured. In relationships, this can create imbalance if they begin to prioritize their partner's feelings over their own emotional truth. They give so much, but forget to reserve energy for themselves. Their compassion becomes a trap when it is not rooted in self-respect. If they don't learn to validate their own needs, they risk living a life that's shaped entirely by others. Idealism, while often a strength, becomes a flaw when it blinds them to reality. Libra goats tend to idealize people, relationships, and life situations, projecting a version of what they wish existed onto what actually is. They fall in love with potential, imagine perfection in imperfection, and sometimes ignore red flags simply because they can't bear the emotional dissonance of disappointment. When life inevitably fails to live up to these imagined ideals, the crash is devastating. Instead of processing that disappointment with clarity, they may spiral into melancholy or passive-aggressive behavior. They rarely lash out, but they do withdraw, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. This retreat isn't just to protect themselves, it's often a quiet protest against reality's inability to meet their expectations. Left unchecked, their unspoken sadness can become chronic, transforming into low-grade depression that's hidden behind pleasantries and polite detachment. Perhaps their most insidious dark side is their tendency to lose touch with their own identity. Because they're so attuned to the emotions and needs of those around them, Libra goats often become chameleons, shaping themselves to fit the mood, expectations, or desires of others. They don't do this to deceive, they do it to belong. But over time, this emotional shapeshifting leaves them disconnected from their true wants, boundaries, and beliefs. They may wake up one day in a job, relationship, or life that doesn't feel like theirs, because it isn't. It was built around other people's needs, not their own. This self-betrayal is subtle and slow-burning, but its effects are profound. They lose their voice in the name of harmony. They shrink themselves to maintain peace. And in doing so, they abandon the very self that makes them so uniquely beautiful. The core lesson for Libra goats is learning to embrace imperfection, in themselves, in others, and in life. They must stop chasing emotional symmetry and start accepting emotional truth. This means making decisions that are messy, choosing themselves even when it hurts someone else, and setting boundaries that may disappoint others but protect their spirit. It means realizing that their softness doesn't require self-sacrifice, and their empathy doesn't have to come at the cost of self-respect. Most of all, it means trusting that they can be loved not for who they pretend to be, but for who they are, flaws, fears, and all. Their darkness is not a weakness, it is a mirror, a teacher, a source of quiet strength waiting to be claimed. And once they integrate these shadows, learning to speak their needs, stand their ground, and define their worth from within, they become truly unstoppable. Not just as people, but as souls who have reclaimed their light, not by avoiding the dark, but by walking through it with grace. Life goals: building harmony in a chaotic world. For the Libra goat, life isn't a race to the top, it's a quiet pilgrimage toward peace, beauty, and emotional meaning. They are not driven by the flashy rewards that fuel many others, titles, trophies, status symbols, or spotlight moments. Their ambitions are much more inward, rooted in the soul's desire to feel safe, purposeful, and surrounded by calm. What they seek above all is emotional security, not just financially or romantically, but spiritually, where they can breathe without fear, create without judgment, and rest without guilt. Every decision they make, consciously or unconsciously, is filtered through a single question: does this feel peaceful? Because they're so attuned to subtle energies, chaos rattles them deeply. That's why they chase balance, not for aesthetic perfection, but because their inner equilibrium depends on it. Their ultimate vision is a life that flows gently, with purpose woven into every corner like soft morning light. They carry a deep longing to create harmony in the world around them, and they often express this through their work, relationships, and surroundings. Whether it's a beautifully designed room, a well-timed act of compassion, or a poem that captures a fleeting emotion, Libra goats are creators of emotional resonance. They can walk into a tense space and bring peace without raising their voice, simply by being present, listening, and offering softness in a world that often hardens. Their dreams are rarely linear. They aren't following a corporate ladder or hustling for domination. Instead, their goals evolve like art, intuitively, meaningfully, and with an eye for emotional depth. Whether they're therapists, writers, musicians, designers, or community builders, their mission is the same: to bring emotional cohesion where there's dissonance, to soften sharp edges, to offer calm in the chaos. In their presence, people breathe easier, and that is no small legacy. Libra goats define success not by what they own, but by how they make others feel and how deeply they connect to their own truth. Their relationships are sacred to them: romantic, platonic, familial, and even fleeting soul encounters. They see every bond as an opportunity to exchange light, to comfort, to inspire. One of their highest life goals is to nurture deep, meaningful connections that outlast conflict, distance, or time. For them, friendship isn't casual. Love isn't conditional. Even strangers are treated with kindness and presence. Their empathy is not performative, it's real, and it's rare. They don't want to leave behind empires. They want to leave behind stories of warmth, of healing, of quiet moments where someone felt truly seen because of them. Their idea of legacy is not measured in monuments, but in memories. In the beauty they left behind and the peace they helped grow, even in silence. But to truly fulfill their life's purpose, Libra goats must learn to trust their own voice, even when it shakes. Even when it says something unpopular. Even when it contradicts what others expect from them. Because so much of their journey is about reclaiming their power gently, not through rebellion or aggression, but through authenticity. When they follow their heart without apology, their lives transform. They begin to make decisions not based on how they'll be received, but on how aligned they are with their soul. They stop sacrificing their dreams to keep the peace and start creating peace through living truthfully. This is where their magic multiplies, when their art, love, work, and energy all come from the same honest place. If they can quiet the noise around them long enough to hear their own inner melody, they will realize that they were never meant to chase the world's rhythm, they were meant to create their own. When fully aligned, the life of a Libra goat becomes a living testament to softness, strength, and soul. They may never be the loudest in the room, but their impact is undeniable. They don't shake the world by force, they shift it gently, like water reshaping stone. Their goals are not about conquest, but about contribution. Not about control, but about connection. They want to build lives that feel like poetry, tender, textured, full of meaning, and help others do the same. And in a world that so often values noise over nuance, the Libra goat's quiet mission is revolutionary. Because building harmony in a chaotic world isn't weakness, it's one of the bravest, most beautiful callings a person can have. So if you're lucky enough to know a Libra born in the year of the goat, cherish them. To know a Libra goat is to know subtle beauty in human form, a kind of presence that doesn't shout, doesn't demand attention, but lingers in the heart long after they've left the room. These individuals are not built for drama or ego, they're made of softer materials, empathy, artistry, soul. They won't dominate a space with volume, but they'll transform it through feeling. Their gifts are often quiet, small acts of kindness, thoughtful gestures, the way they remember the little things you said months ago. But don't mistake their quiet for insignificance. Their emotional intelligence is a superpower, their intuition razor sharp, and their compassion vast enough to hold others without losing themselves, at least, not entirely. They're the kinds of friends who bring you tea when you're sad, send you music when you can't find words, and sense your needs before you've even voiced them. In a world that often celebrates flash over feeling, they offer something deeply needed, emotional sanctuary. Their love language is presence. Their loyalty is deep-rooted. Their understanding? Often beyond what they've experienced themselves. These are the people who will write you poems instead of texts, decorate their homes like a painting, and soothe your anxiety with the tone of their voice. To be loved by a Libra goat is to feel like you belong exactly as you are, with no need to perform, compete, or apologize. Their affection is not conditional, transactional, or performative. It's genuine, it's rare, and if you're on the receiving end of it, you're already richer than you realize. What makes Libra goats truly irreplaceable is the soft strength they carry. While they may seem delicate, they possess an inner resilience that's born not from force but from feeling. They've weathered storms in silence. They've kept going even when their hearts were heavy. They've stayed kind in a world that hasn't always been kind to them. They might not stand tall with steel armor, but they stand steady in velvet, carrying a kind of grace that doesn't break under pressure. They've learned how to absorb emotion, transform it, and release it through art, care, and creation. They may walk gently, but their presence changes the emotional climate of every room they enter. They are the soft lights in a harsh world, yes, but make no mistake, those lights don't flicker easily. So if you're blessed to have one of these souls in your life, treat them like the treasure they are. Respect their need for calm. Value their emotional labor. Don't take their silence for weakness, or their kindness for lack of conviction. They give so much without asking for much in return, but they notice everything. And when they feel seen, heard, and safe, they open in ways that feel like magic. To know a Libra goat deeply is to experience love, presence, and creativity at their highest frequency. So hold them close. Be patient with their sensitivities. Celebrate their quirks. And above all, never make them feel like their softness is something they need to harden in order to survive. Because their softness is their superpower. And if you are one, don't let the world rush you. This world often moves too fast for a heart like yours. It celebrates speed, decisiveness, and dominance, traits that can make you feel out of sync, like you're somehow behind, or not enough. But your rhythm was never meant to match the chaos outside. Your soul is tuned to something slower, deeper, more deliberate. And that is not a flaw. That is your design. You are not here to win the race. You're here to notice the flowers along the path, to soothe the restless, to remind others that love is a verb, not a performance. You bring softness to sharp spaces. You create beauty where there's been neglect. And you hold pain gently, without trying to erase it or fix it. That is your gift, and it is one this world desperately needs. You don't have to apologize for being slow to decide, for needing time alone, for craving beauty and emotional safety in a world that often feels raw and loud. You were not made to force yourself into spaces that don't feel right. You don't need to match anyone else's timeline, energy, or expectations. Your gift is your grace, the way you move through life with sensitivity, the way you make others feel safe just by being near, the way you lead not through dominance, but through emotional presence. That's not something you can teach. That's something you are. So honor it, protect it, and trust that moving at your own pace doesn't make you late, it makes you true. When you begin to trust your voice, when you stop silencing your needs for the sake of peace, you will step into your true power. When you realize that boundaries don't make you cruel and that saying no is also a form of love, you'll stop shrinking. You'll start to claim space not by pushing others out, but by standing in your light fully, unapologetically. You'll find that your softness doesn't need to harden to survive, it only needs to be supported, protected, and honored. And the right people, the right opportunities, the right life? They'll meet you exactly where you are. So take your time, breathe, reflect, feel it all. You were never meant to keep up with the world's noise, you were meant to tune into the soul of it. And the more you honor who you are, without shame or apology, the more the world will begin to honor you too.